Hello, hello, everyone. Father Aaron here, the Dungeon Minister. And we're going to paint and jab today. Or I'm going to paint and jab. You may paint if you wish to. You may jabber if you wish to. But I'm going to at least. And you can join me in that. Come along, friend. Come along. Let's paint and let's jabber. So, yeah, not a lot happening today, but I'm making a concerted effort to have some midday streams because I know I've got people who are viewers over in the UK and in Europe, in Australia, etc. And the times don't always line up when I'm streaming late at night. That may work for the Aussies, but it tends to be in the middle of the night for those in the UK and Europe. So I thought it'd be a good idea to have a few more midday ones just for the wider world. Certainly the folks here in North America can also tune in now, perhaps, potentially. Am I saying too much? I'm saying too much. Anyway, hello out there. Hello to Eric Jensen, who follows two former Americans living in Canada now, who are Anglican priests. So Nova Scotia is not quite next door, although I mean it's a it's not a 3-day drive. We took 3 days to drive it some years ago. The bird chooses to go crazy when I begin to live stream. Quiet all morning. Now it's going crazy. Anyway, we drove it some years ago. When, let's see, Fleetwood was 5 and Touchberry was 3 and Bob Johnny was a baby. And we did it in 3 days because when you have a 5, a 3, and a, not newborn, but a baby, you really don't want to go all out. You want to take some breaks in there. So we stayed in a couple of places. We stayed at an Airbnb in suburb of Montreal. We stayed actually out in New Brunswick. I don't remember the community. I don't remember even what city we were near. It was an interior city. It wasn't a big one that I don't think. But again, it was years ago. We stayed in one that it had been a sort of conference center, probably back in the 80s, early 80s, I'd say it was built. And it had that sort of late 70s, early 80s vibe to it. And it was a conference center, so it had a couple of conference rooms. These conference rooms today were embarrassingly small. I mean, it actually would be a really good place to do a gaming convention, a smallish gaming convention, because you could still have a hotel and a conference room that would be plenty big for a starting out game convention. Like Claricon would have lots of room there, but it wouldn't be so big that you'd feel embarrassed. Hello there, Hungar the Starvarian. Good to see you. I hope you're not starving too much right now. But it was charmingly run down. Like they had a playground, and it was really just like something you could go out to Home Depot to buy, And I thought, looking at this, it's dilapidated. It was a worn out old playground, too. I looked at it and I thought, what they really should have done, and you always see the thing when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But with coming there with a family, I thought if they took those conference rooms and they had 2 of them, take one of them and make it into an indoor playground. Those things with the slides and the ball pits and the netting that the kids crawl across and all that kind of stuff. You did that. And the other room have for general functions in the evening. Like during the day, the playroom is open. In the evening, you could have, a nice dance or dinner or whatever. In the other one, they would make money that way. As a conference center, it was truly surpassed. Hello, Mark. Hello, Decado. How are you doing? Yeah, as a conference center, it was passé. It was too small. It was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it looked nice, but it didn't have the things that people want now. But it would have the kind of things people would want as a family resort. There was a little dock, and you could you have to truck in some sand to make a little beach on a lake. It was quite nice. for what it was. I mean, no, it was quite run down, but it could be nice as a family kind of place, a little sprucing up. It had a restaurant, decent food, you know. I mean, focus more on the hot dogs and fish fingers, and you're golden, right? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I don't even remember how I got on the subject. Oh, Nova Scotia. Bit of a drive from Ontario, but it is true that people in North America think less of long drives than people in Europe. I remember going to the UK and saying with Faux Fire, before we were married, but we went to the UK on vacation, and we were in Salisbury. No, we were in. Yeah. We were in Salisbury, and we were going to. No, we were in Canterbury, and we were going to Salisbury. And then one said, "Oh dear, that's a long way. It's like 3 or 4 hours on the train, tops. You know, it's like it's nothing. We do that all the time for work. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is painting. Now, this is the old camera that I've got turned on right now. I don't know if you would notice that. If I held up a mini, you certainly would, because it would never get in focus. But I have a 2-cam setup. What? I have 2 cameras set up today, and I have, in honor of 2 cameras, we have 2 minis. Yes, Eric, that is a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting it. We have 2 minis, and I've got to decide between them, and you're going to help me decide. I have a big, beefy boy and smaller, less beefy boy. Come on, how can I turn that so he looks level with the other one? Man. Smaller, less beefy boy is a human fighter, clearly was the intent. But if you notice, he has long hair, and it covers his ears. And because he's a smaller mold, he could be an elf. This could be Captain Thalion from the stories recently, from the recaps recently. This could be Captain Thalion. I know he doesn't have the pointed ears, but again, his ears just don't show at all. So maybe he's just his hair is blown over his ears at the moment. That's kind of my thought on him. This guy, beefy boy. This is actually, it's not a D&D miniature at all. It's a Song, Ice, and Fire miniature. So they are slightly larger. I think they're 32 millimeter scale. But he's one of the Northmen of the Starks. But I thought for Lord Morgan Mars in-house troops, because Paint Minis Live did some fabulous ones. They had a sigil on their shield, and I have created a story behind them, and you'll hear the story when or if they show up at the battle, if they get there in time. I'm sort of tracking where they are. They're going to get there in time. I know that because they're close enough. They're closer than the enemy. But so when they show up, they're going to be reinforcements that have come at the behest of the Count. The Count is sending reinforcements to Morgan. But this could be one of the in-house guys for Morgan Mars. So there's the choice. Captain Thalion, or a soldier from Lord Morgan. So there's the choice. I would like you to put that in the comments and decide which one I'm going to do. Whichever one, I'm going to need a certain amount of paint, so I'll start getting paints out at the moment. I've got a couple of different browns. I got burnt umber and cinnamon brown. We're going to need black, because you just do. Let's see what else we got. That's a wash. In case I need some lighter browns. I tend to go pretty gritty on this. The captain, just for the intrigue of making a human into an elf, huh? Fair enough. I tend to go with the cinematic version of the Middle Ages, with things that are rather gritty and brown and not terribly colorful. I know it's not historically realistic, but neither are dragons. So, although I do have a theory. Dragons are just dinosaurs. We were wrong about them breathing fire. We were wrong about them being able to speak and cast spells. But when it comes down to it, enormous, reptilian. I'm sure that the bones of dinosaurs contributed to the dragon mythos, right? I mean, how could they not? We find them various places. How could that not have something to do with the dragon mythos? So far, we got a vote in for Captain Thalion. If I hear nothing else, then that's what I'm going to go with. Oh my, come on, focus. I got you specifically for focus. Yeah, much better on the details than this other one. So if it's Thalion, so far I haven't heard anything to dissuade me, then the dark color palette really makes sense. I was going to throw in, if it's this guy, I was going to give him like a bright cloak. Another vote for the captain. I was going to give him sort of a colorful cloak of some kind. But so far it's looking like the captain, Captain Thalion. He is definitely of the dour, not terribly colorful variety. Maybe his cloak. Yeah, I really don't see his cloak being anything other than a brown or gray. He is not a flashy fellow. No, that's true. That's true. Maybe they could breathe fire. I would imagine there'd be some scorching on the teeth. I don't know. You'd think there would be some sign of it on the inside of the jaw, but I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Not a scientist. But I mean, there's even flying ones, right? The pteranodons, which are not dinosaurs. They are pteranodons. They're a different branch there, but they did fly around, and and now they're talking about how dinosaurs had feathers, and I'm sorry, but imagining a T-Rex with feathers makes me angry. Just makes me angry. I don't know why. Because it's a cherished thing, right? They're scaly. They don't have feathers. They probably did. Oh, well. All right. Okay, we'll go with the captain. Just chonky boy there for another day. So how's everyone doing out there? How's everyone doing? We having a good day? And how are things in Denmark? Eric, how are things in Denmark? Are you marking the Danes? The March of the Danes, Denmark. I imagine that's a march kind of image. All right, so now he has some. He's got armor in there. You're painting along? Oh, fabulous. What are you painting, Mark? He's got, I've got to turn the light up here. I'm going to switch it to the more wide spectrum and get it brighter. He has some scale armor on there, and it's right in there. So I'm going to want to get in there with paint before I hit anything else on that level. I'm going to want to get his face before I get his hair and cloak around him. The hands will be later because they're again upper. My philosophy on painting is always from the inner out, because I find it so much easier to correct a problem if I've gone in to paint something. If I've blobbed somewhere, it's easier to get the things that are further out. Maybe that's not terribly unique in terms of painting techniques, but it is my technique. Gum getting some paint done, then running to a session tonight. Excellent. Hey-o, Squirrel! Squirrel, the celebrated Squirrel. How are you doing, Mr. Hermit? I'm looking for paint over here, and I'm not finding what I wanted. I wanted silver. We're going to throw down a little bit of... So you know what actually I'm going to do? First, I'm going to throw down some black, and then I will go over it later with some silver, and that will... just a dry brushing of silver over the black, because I don't think Thalion would want shiny armor. He's a practical man. He's a fighter. He's a practical guy. You're well. Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Thalion's a practical guy. He's not going to want shiny armor. I might as well get the other little bit. There's a little bit of a skirt of that scale mail that comes out to cover his elf bits. elf bits from Keebler. Delicious. I think that's all the interior scale nail kind of stuff I can see. All right. And I may want to throw some black in here just to get sort of shadowy kind of feel going on. And I'll go over it with other colors, but the black underneath will help shadow it deep in here in the coat. This is my version of zenithal highlighting. It's not actually zenithal highlighting. I'm just dabbing dark color in places to sort of shadow it up. Well, it's an experiment. I've never done it before. I'm trying it out. I don't know. Perry Miniatures, War of the Roses. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. And as I said, I need to get, oh, well, I missed a bit of that. Go back. Oh, it's a little too quick. So I've got to boast. Fleetwood. I knew that he had done well because this is about last year's school. In school last year, he got a letter though recently announcing he was on the honors list because he got high grades. Now I have to say the scale throws me because when I was coming up, an A was like 92 or something and above. But in the system around here, like when I went to, because again, I grew up in the States and went to school, high school and whatnot, and university in the States. But when I came to do my seminary work, the percentage average in order to get an A was so much lower, like an 80 and over was an A. But it was just that they had, it wasn't easier. It was just that they had expanded the range, right? Like essentially they were working on a different scale, right? It gave them more flexibility within the grades because they opened up a wider range of numbers that could still be passing grades, right? So I was shocked. But anyway, apparently at his school, and again, an 80 represents an A, although they don't call it an A anymore, which is ridiculous. But it's an 80% and above is on the honors roll. Well, he was over 90. He was 90, 95, 96 percentile. And when he averaged out his grades. So it wasn't even a question, but still to get the letter, like when I was in school, I got to tell you, I was an awful high school student. I didn't do the work. I didn't nothing. So it was such a shock to get. Like, is this my son? Could we do a DNA test? Because I'm not entirely sure here if this is my kid. Okay, now Thalion is a black-haired fellow. The seed is strong. So I'm going to throw that on there. And you know what I have been finding with painting minis, unless I need to mix a paint, I just use the caps. I just use the cap for the paint because you don't use that much on a mini. It's as it is mini. Well, thank you very much, Eric and Squirrel. So you don't use much paint, and I find it just reduces my mess. Now I was always using egg cartons for the for palettes, and I still keep a few because if I do want to mix a color, or if I'm doing terrain, if you're doing terrain, you're going to use a lot more, and if you want to mix for that. But it's interesting, the two scales of things that I've done most recently. Minis, I don't use much paint, so why pour a bunch out? It's just going to soak into the paper of the egg carton and be wasted. A, and B, the other thing I do a lot of, well, not a lot of, but the other terrain, the most recent terrain I've done has been such big scale stuff that I just pour the paint directly on the piece. I'm cutting out the whole palette aspect. Now, a black-haired elf is not black-haired elf is not the typical image, right? I mean, the typical image is the fair hair, etc. And I have to say, I did play the guy with black hair must be the bad guy trope in our campaign because Thalion, dark of hair, grim and grumpy, and not an effusively friendly person. Lord Silverian, far more genial, far more charismatic and fair of hair, and turns out to be the traitor. Right. I was doing more of a 1980s movie, you know, where the blonde jock is the bad guy. Or I guess Harry Potter, Malfoy, Game of Thrones. Okay, so a lot of times the blonde is the bad guy. But anyway, the usual description of elves is that they're fair of hair, etc. The fair folk and whatnot. But Thalion is definitely not the sing tra la la in the moonlight kind of elf. That is not his character. It's interesting. I'm reading the Hobbit to the boys for bedtime recently, even though they've I think all read it themselves, and I've certainly have read it to them before, and I believe all three of them have now read it themselves. Still, it's fun to read a bedtime story to your kids, and they like the story, so I'm going ahead and doing it. But the tone of it is so much. I mean, the elves that you find in The Hobbit don't strike me as the kind of elves who, I mean, I guess the Battle of the Five Armies is another thing altogether, but when you meet them like in Rivendell, they don't seem like the kind of elves that are holding on against evil at all costs. It seemed like the kind of elves who'd get their butt handed to them if a few orcs showed up. You know, tra la la lally, way down in the valley. I mean, and of course, he's writing a children's book. It's a different tone. And I don't think he knew then what he would do with this world. You can kind of tell that he didn't quite know where he was going with this ring. It was just a ring, right? It was just a magical ring. Yes, in the vein of you know the was it the Nibelung? Yes, in the vein of the sort of magical rings of a Saxon Norse society, but the so he didn't quite know. I'm sure he didn't know when he introduced those elves, having them just be like singing songs and being merry in the forest was fine because that was what they did. And then you got to say, oh no, these are the wisest and most senior of all the peoples of Middle Earth. You go, oh, I've kind of made them look silly. They didn't do a lot of tra-la-la-lally in Lord of the Rings, did they? Tolkien certainly made fair-haired elves nicer on average. Galadriel, Glorfin, Leaf, yeah. Fëanor was dark, yeah. I mean, and it's so the fair elf, the fair-skinned elf, the fair-haired elf. All right, now going back to center and working our way out. Ufta. In here, it was probably the only spot where his pants are visible. There, and then between the straps down the legs. That's handy. Gush. His pants. Again, he's not a colorful guy. I'm just going to go with this country maple, which is kind of a warm brown. It has a certain, maple kind of color to it. But it's of the colors, that'll probably be about the lightest he's wearing. And I'm putting it on thin enough that the gray can assert itself through. Right? Okay, well, I was. That blob was a little much. But I think the again, it just shouldn't be too. If anything, it should look a little worn, because he's also the kind of guy who probably doesn't, It's like Aragorn at the beginning of Lord of the Rings in the movies, right? He looks disgusting. Frankly, you wouldn't think, oh yeah, that guy, he's going to be a king someday. You're like, oh, that guy, he's gonna steal my bike, is what he's gonna do. He's gonna steal my bike. So actually, more area where you see his pants over here. I forgot about his buttocks. Not really his buttocks, it's his thigh, but we're in the neighborhood, is what I'm saying. So, preparations for Claricon continue apace. We actually have gotten to a place where it's sort of at a lull, because the registrations have stalled, largely because there's not a lot of games open yet. He's got Charlie the King. He's got shit all over him. Hello, Gonzalo. How are you doing? There's not a lot of spots available. What's available is really cool. There's a speaking of war game miniatures. You have War of the Roses. There's a 100 Years War game that's happening. That's, I think, going to be very cool if we can get another player or two on the table. It's largely because they were sort of announced later on. Hexed Press's Troop Doomsday is going to be happening, and that sounds pretty cool. But they were announced later on because people already had their tables set, right? And we'll see. We'll see what happens. That guy's pants. I hope that's a different enough color from his face that it doesn't look like he's naked under his armor. How do you deal with all that hot armor? It's simple. I just don't put on pants. Ouch! Don't you get pinched, is what I'm saying. Don't you get pinched? It is good that it's filled up, but I wish it would have filled up a little more evenly. Part of the problem is I did not include. I didn't include Saturday night at the second venue. And if I had, then you could get a day pass and play all Saturday. What happens is, because there's no night venue on Saturday, no second night venue on Saturday, the people who want to play, there's enough tables for them to do something in the morning, but not in the evening. So you really don't want to sign up and only be able to play 2/3 of the day, because there's a day pass, which would be for just Saturday, which is kind of what I was thinking when I put the second venue on for Saturday, that it would be to cover that day pass crowd. They could have access to more games. There'd be more games, so the day pass crowd could increase. And it did, but I should have just done the hall for the whole day and scheduled more DMs. But it's a little late now. We'll see how it goes. Everything, you know what? When you're this new in it, it's only the third year. When you're this new in it, everything's an experiment. So we're seeing how it goes. Okay. Now we have some. Looks like there's armor strapped on, but there's clothing underneath it. Again, I don't want to go to the same thing that he's wearing on his top. That would be awkward. Maybe we'll use the storm gray for storm cloud gray. More games, the more better, as a rule of thumb. It is. It absolutely is. Oops, this is a new storm cloud gray. I know I have an older one in here. Oh my heavens! 5,000 things of gray paint. That's my name too. There's my older Stormcloud Gray. So it's learning experience for everyone, myself primarily. You know, you learn as you go. You learn as you go. It's only the third year. I can't believe this. By the third year, we are roughly double the number of registrations as we were the first year, and it's still over a month out. So I mean, there's a chance that it will absolutely double. Now, I don't think someone was saying, is it possible that you'll hit 3 figures for registrations? Because the first year was 40 some pre-registrations. By the time people who showed up on the day, by the time you included vendors who didn't register because they weren't playing games, we ended up at basically 50. And last year it was around 50 pre-registered, and on the day it ended up at around 60. Yeah, this time we're pre-registrations are, what is it, 85 now? 84, 85, something like that. So, but I don't think we'll hit triple digits because of the lack of open tables. I think actually even if people signed up and took 1 spot, there aren't enough spots open to hit 100, let alone people, registering and taking 2 spots, which is what you would normally do. You wouldn't register and just play a game. Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, still in all, in the 80s, it's again roughly doubled from where we started, and we'll see what happens when pre-registrations. We'll see how many people show up on the day, and I haven't actually tallied up how much oh, hello back to Zedrock. It is a pretty good curve. I agree. Surprising to me. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the kind of plates of armor as I did for the scale. I'm going to give it a black base, and then I'll go over it with a lighter brushing of silver, because it should have some shine. It should have some. It's metallic. I know there are paints that are like this is iron. I just don't have them. I should take a trip, because I get my paints at the dollar store, and the dollar store here has a very limited supply of very limited variety. And actually there's 2 dollar stores in town, which is funny because we don't live in that big of a town. One of them is a chain, Dollarama, and their selection is actually pretty lousy. But there's a independent dollar store in town, which I prefer to support if I can, because, well, first of all, I like the local, small business model better, but also because they have better stuff. They've got, at least for my purposes, they sell ready board rather than the stuff that is the technically better stuff where the glue doesn't peel off, which is what you want in a product. Except for crafting, you do want your foam core board to peel. You want it to be appealing. They sell that, and they have a pretty wide selection of paint, which is great. So I can get some good stuff. I'm trying to decide on his arms, those his forearms, if those should be silver or copper. Not silver. I mean, it wouldn't be bright silver. It would be a sort of silverish, copper-ish. So. All sorts of fun stuff happening. If anyone is on the Claricon Discord server, which you're all welcome to, you know what I should do? Can I? I can, can't I? I'm going to do that. Painting break while I go and get the Discord server invite. Create the invite. Don't let it expire, because I think that's ridiculous. Copy that. Close that. Put it in the chat, and there it is in the comments, and I'll show it. Not that you're going to type that out. Capital. Oh, it's supposed to be capitalized. But anyway, there's the link. If you're over in the, you'll see a lot of discussions happening. There are going to be some online games. Thalen, D and Disabilities, is going to run one, and I gather that the Dungeon Delver will be running one as well. And other people are welcome too, if you'd like to hop on Discord and run an online game. I know they're not as fun as an in-person con, but because this convention is started not on a local gaming scene or a local population, but based on an internet YouTube channel that goes all over. The reality is, of course, many of our friends can't travel that far, although some people are coming a long way. I got people coming from the UK, Ye Old Geek, and IQ. It's not intelligence close. It's an interesting question, I think he makes it. People coming from the west coast of Canada, up from the States. So these people are doing some serious traveling to get here, but not everyone can do that. And because it is based on an internet, a YouTube channel, I think it'd be nice if people can attend that way, as it were. And again, if you'd like to run a game, that's awesome. If you'd like to play in a game, check in. There's a channel on that Discord server that is for the online games, and I've told the DMs when you're ready to run something, and I'll tell you all now, when you're ready to run something, announce it there, and I'll draw attention to it for the wider, and say, look, if you're looking to play, this person's offering. And just, I don't know, however the DM wants to, if they want to set up a Warhorn thing to register people, or if they just want to say, anyone who wants to play, message me here. And then when they're full, say, okay, we can't take any more players. It doesn't have to be real, if you first come, first serve kind of thing. And then, have fun with it. Have fun with it. Last year, Tonka Todd ran something last year. There were other people who wanted to, but one person didn't. I think they didn't get enough players, because we sort of announced it at the last minute. And someone else, Yang, actually had a game ready to go, but he had a gas leak in his house. So not a good idea to be gaming with a gas leak. You want to be out in the fresh air for that. So it was taken care of. Nobody got hurt, anything. But you don't take chances with that. So anyway, that's going on. If you wanted to, can you even see what I'm doing? It's ridiculous. You do it over here. I shouldn't, because if I get it that close, you can see how bad a painter I am. I should do it off camera. I should just not stream it. That's probably the right answer. So that's always fun. And if you're over there, also the marketplace has been a hive of activity, because SideQuest Loot has had a fellow who's gotta send him an email too, who was looking for a Deities and Demigods of the first version that had the Call of Cthulhu in it and all that kind of stuff, right? The Cthulhu mythos. And there were 2 printings of it. And they're wickedly hard to find, and they tend to be super expensive. Well, SideQuest Loot is, if nothing else, tenacious. And he hunted down, James, he hunted down a copy and got it for under what people tend to be paying for it, right? And even after, I mean, SideQuest Loot, he's not doing this for fun. It's his business. Even after he made commission on it, it was still cheaper than you'd find listed on in a lot of places. Now, I will say that what's listed in a lot of places, I've heard this theory. If you go on eBay and you look for D&D books, or you go on eBay and you look for Star Wars toys, hey, RPG Dad. Yes, it does sound dangerous, Eric. And you see something like, a first edition monster manual, $17,000 or something. Like, whoa, those are expensive. I guarantee you, somewhere there's a man saying, I'm sorry, honey, I know you want me to get rid of all this stuff. I put it on eBay. Nobody bought it. Like, that's what's happening, folks. That's what's happening. But still and all, much cheaper than the going rate generally for those books. He got it. And just actually, I saw yesterday, I think I saw the buyer posting that it had arrived in the mail and it was in great condition. So he knows how to find stuff. I'll give him that. He knows how to find stuff. He is and he's tenacious about it. So yeah, if there's some very specific item you're looking for, check in with SideQuest first. He may just be able to help you. I mean, obviously, the limitations of what's actually exists and is out there. Howdy, Shadow. How are you doing? Yeah, note that trick down. It's a valuable one. Yeah, honey, I listed it on eBay. Nobody bought it. I don't know. Anyhow, this brush has gotten all fuzzy. Why did it get all fuzzy? How are things out in California, Mr. Shadow? Just woke up. God bless you. God bless you. I was up earlier today because it is violin day in our household, which means that boys have violin lessons. Now, Bob Johnny's not feeling too terribly well this morning. He's got kind of a sore throat, stuffy nose, so he's home. But Fleetwood and Touchberry are off at violin with Faux Fire. I'm here with Bob Johnny and Magoo, who's under the desk, keeping me from being comfortable at my seat. Getting ready to do some shopping. 60 US, yeah. Still needed second edition DMG. Well, there you go. This is the kind of thing that SideQuest can help you with. He does do the tracking down. He does. I know he's actually got some books. He may have a second edition DMG actually in his stock. He mostly is focusing on tracking things down and being the sort of connecting agent and getting a finder's fee kind of thing. But he does have a certain amount of stock. I got to keep an eye on the time. I'm going to be streaming until about 12:30 here because I've got to. As I say, I'm home with Bob Johnny, and I'm on lunch duty there. I'm on lunch duty today. So we're getting some stuff. Got a little shiny breastplate. I may dull that down with a. Not quite. But Bob Johnny has always shown a fabulous capacity to entertain himself, usually with the most astonishing things. He has an imagination to beat the band. He really does, and is often quite surprising in the things he'll come up with. Hello again there, Orc Child. How are things by you? I was raised a poor Orc child. And I'm just slopping on some cinnamon brown for a cloak. I'll dirty it up later. This is how it came out off of the sewing machine, though. When Captain Thalion's, in case you're here new, I'm painting. It's actually a human fighter from the Next Level miniature line. I don't know if it's one that Shadow sent or one that that Dirty Basement Terrain sent. You both sent me some next level miniatures, and I don't recall which minis were in which batch. But this guy is intended to be a human fighter. I am repurposing him as an elf because his hair covers his ears, so you can't tell if they're pointy or not. Now, I know there's a whole pointy-eared elf. Gonna check your corn patch. Excellent. Oh, you know what? I have fallen out of following the corn patch, guys. I was raised a poor orc child, has a corn patch, and I just jokingly said if he just filmed his corn patch every day, it would probably go viral. I don't know if it did or not. I was watching, and it seemed to have a good number of viewers for someone who was just walking around a corn patch. But so maybe you can tell us, did it end up actually going viral on you? Is it a sensation? Probably get as many viewers as most people do for, most internet content, YouTube content. There we are. Yeah. Is Vulcan another name for elf? Hello, Jazz. For a few people. Well, God bless you. God bless you. Well, there was a whole controversy on Twitter because, heavens, let's find something else to argue about whether or not elves have pointy ears. And Tolkien never mentioned pointy ears and this and that other thing. And it's like, well, you know what? I don't care. That's just been. It's like the Bible never says that angels have wings either, other than the cherubim who have 6, and they, with 2 they cover their feet, and with 2 they cover their face, and with 2 they fly. So. But in art, you've always got these angelic figures with wings. It's just how the artist says this is an angel, not just some guy. That's just how we indicate things. And so indicating the elves was, pointy ears. That'll be how we indicate elves. Yeah. Whether or not that's true or right or whatever, I care not. As I said at the beginning, usually elves are... what was I saying? Elves are shown as fair, and Thalion breaks that. He's dark of hair. Seed is strong. I don't know about this cloak. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I do know, but I don't know. Best tip. I think I learned this from Wheels Within Wheels. I think I learned this from Paint Minis Live. Connect your hands when you're painting, right? Because then you're not like, it's not your whole arm floating around out there. It's just your fingertips. You have a lot more control. I think maybe I was doing it anyway. It's just sort of as a intuitive thing, but it was confirmed for me. I'm pretty sure it was Paint Minis Live. It was talking about it. It was confirmed as a good thing to do. Because otherwise you just can't get the fine motor control. And I don't have terribly fine motor control. Actually, I do. It's terrible. But probably my brush control is one of my better skills in the world of painting, because it certainly isn't blending or anything else. Though I still have to get one of those rigs like Squirrel Hermit's got with the magnification. That's a good deal there. Plus, then I can look, like a crazy mad scientist. Learned from my dentist, though he was resting his hand on people's jaws. Ouch. Yes, I have to say, Eric, I'm with you on this. The pointed ears, yes, but why do they need to be 7 feet long? Like, come on, people. Like, pointed is one thing, but these ears that go up beyond, above their head, above the crown of their head, like, what on earth? Not my style. Not my style. You do that with your elves. Keep those pointy ears in your game. I don't know. Anyway, shakes fist at Cloud. I'm with you there. right. We've got his cloak, and it is appropriately. Oh, nope, doesn't have a cloak. I didn't finish the cloak. There's parts of the cloak I haven't even seen. Oh dear, there's parts of his pants I haven't even seen. This is my problem with it. I keep missing. I don't do a comprehensive survey of the thing. At each stage of color, I'm not really. As my high school teachers would tell you, I just don't pay attention. Oh well. Oh well. It's just paint. Just paint. I can go back. Yeah. Well, there's 12 folks out there. Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. Okay. We have, in addition to the family game, I also do an online game for patrons once a month, and that's been interesting. They recently did a spy mission into the Vale of the Blade, where Bargle has taken over, to see what he's up to. That may be the boot, not maybe why I didn't paint that the first time. That wasn't a mistake. Maybe that was on purpose. Yeah, that was on purpose. Oops. Oh well. I'll just paint over it because it's just paint. They went in there and did a little spy mission, which turned out pretty cool. And then I have my game shop game, which is actually taking place in a similar part of the world. It's in a similar area to the south, in the free city of Belisior. Belisior is it's a major town, and I sort of model it on London in a way, although not the capital of my kingdom, but in the sense of being a free city that has its own rights, and the monarch has to ask permission to enter, and it's actually run by the guilds. It's run by the merchants and guilds and craftsmen of the city, so it has a different kind of flavor. There's no lord. There's a mayor, but he doesn't have the kind of control that you would associate with a feudal lord. It doesn't have that structure of power. Bargle was in pain. Ominous if satisfying. Well, maybe. There's an episode coming out tomorrow, the announcement, that they will again use the power of their crystal ball to spy on Bargle. And it won't really explain anything, but it will... Let's see another vision of him. Shirt collar in here. Wow, shirt collar. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing it? Because I want the opportunity to totally mess up my mini. That's why I'm doing it. I figure if I get in there, I can splotch paint on his face and destroy it, and then I can blame myself. That's why I'm doing it. Realism. Yeah. So, does the evil scrying orb ever see your Patriot group? Patriot group? Patriot. Patron group? Patreon group. Hello, Mini Warmut. How are you doing? No, because they're asking about specific people. They're asking about specific people. That would be funny, though. That would be actually pretty funny. Now you've given me an idea. So they ask to see specific people, and one of the things the scrying, or because it is a chaotic evil item, it doesn't show them much context at all, which is why they get these bizarre little looks into their enemies' lives. They're not seeing the full picture because it doesn't want to show them the full picture. It doesn't want to show them anything. It doesn't like them. But it has to do the job it's been asked to. It can't refuse, but it can do it incomplete. It can say, well, I'm only going to show you this much. I don't, I don't care for you fellas, so I'm only going to show you what I want to show you. So it can do an incomplete job, which is what it's been doing. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is, another piece finished for you. You are much faster than me. Like, somebody should feed Bargle ghost peppers. Like this is just blocked in at this point, right? I mean, I don't tend to go a lot further than blocking in, to be honest. That's just blocked in. That alone would be fine on the table. I wouldn't have any problem putting that. I'd paint the sword metal, you know. I'd paint the boots and the sword but that would be fine on the table. Like, it has color, it has interest. You can kind of tell, you know. But at any rate, I have finally encountered some solo RPG games. Now the 13-year-old D&D player in me has surfaced. You were close to done. Okay, well, that makes me feel better. If you had started when you logged in, then you'd really be fast, because I was into the process when you joined. Yeah. The solo stuff, you know what? Like, I wish maybe I could just do that. I mean, I have almost all of them. I pretty much have all of them. I was sent a whole batch of stuff. I could probably do it. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. They're fun, right? You know, I had Mystery of the Snow Pearls. I don't think I ever played it, though. I have to say, I don't think I ever played it. I had it, though. Looked kind of cool. I don't think I had the Riddle of the Minotaur's Maze, but that's a solo one. I know. I don't think I had that one back in the day. I do now, as a PDF. I had another one that was a solo. I can't remember what it is now, but I had some. Never played them, though. I didn't really do much with modules back in the day, and now I really kind of just mine them for. I just mine them for resources. I do have now, and I didn't play, but Fleetwood did, and I think he ran his brothers through the Silver Princess or something. 4 Against Darkness, cool. Yes, Choose Your Own Adventure books. I did do those back in the day. I think we all did. You couldn't avoid it, right? I mean, if you wanted to avoid Choose Your Own Adventure books, you'd have to move to the moon or something. They were everywhere. We still have some, actually. I can't remember what the themes of them are. I mean, they're on the boys' bookshelf. The boys have their own shelf that's pretty much the size of the one behind me. That's Faux Fires in my books. They have their own. That's almost as big, and actually overflowing. And we have gotten rid of little kid books. They're kind of done with those, so those move on. And painful though it is, we've kept some of them that are particular favorites in the house, but we've taken those to a little free library at our church. We have outside the church is a little free library that we put up a few years ago. Now, does anyone else out there have a little free library, either at their church or their home or their wherever that you interact with in any way, shape, or form? Because something that happened to us is every once in a while I would see this woman. She'd pull into the way the church is laid out. There's a driveway that goes to our parking lot, which is out in the back. And that's near that driveway is where the little free library is. And from my office, I can see the front yard, the front lawn. And every once in a while, I'd see this woman. She'd pull in with a minivan or an SUV or something, and she'd park there with the back hatch opened. And she'd be standing in front of that little free library for a long time. She was cleaning out any book that she thought she could resell. She was a bookseller. I don't know if she's online or if she's got a brick and mortar somewhere. There's a bunch of, it's always used bookstores around. But she's cleaning us out. And I I wrestled with it because, like, the idea of the books is that they're free. So what you do with it afterward. But the intent was not for resale. It was not the idea. So I did probably kind of a jerky thing. I got a stamp that says "Little Free Library Book Not for Sale," or not to be sold. And I've stamped every book I find, and then every couple of days I go out and any new books, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And because it's not what it's for. It's not what it's for. Okay, so I'm having to redo his pants because although it's not the exact same light color of his face, it really does look like he's naked under his armor. I'm going to have to redo that. That's not right. That's not right. Thalion is many things, but a naturalist is not among them. I'm going to make sure we know those are pants. I'm making them a different color from his face. Yeah, they're very popular, little free libraries. There's one in our neighborhood. Doesn't seem to get changed very often. It doesn't seem to get new books in it very often. I took a whack of Hardy Boys books over there because we've got a lot of, not all, but close to all of the Hardy Boys books from the reprinting that started in, I think, the 50s or 60s. They started reprinting the old 1920s, 1930s books, and we've got a lot of them. And we had a bunch of doubles because once you let people know that you like those books, they'll go to book sales and whatnot, and the things are dirt cheap, so they'll give you a whole whack of them. Then you go home, you compare it to what you've got, and you take the better copy and you keep the tidier copy, and the one that's a little rougher, or it's got someone colored in all the illustrations or something. That's when you take to a little free library. That's what we did. And so yeah, taking that there, they I put I don't know, 10 of them, 10 or 12 books in there. They got snapped up pretty quick. But it doesn't, other than that, I've seen, because when I went there, it's on the route that Magoo and I walk every night. I looked, I don't see much else moving, which is unfortunate. Maybe there's just not a lot of readers around here. I thought of us putting our own out front because we do have so many books and we do go through them. I mean, like, eventually a kid isn't reading, Good Night Construction Site anymore. And even if he was, I almost know it by heart at this point. I read it so many times, both to Fleetwood, all three of them, Fleetwood, Touchberry, Bob Johnny, in line. They all loved that book. And I read it so many times. Down in the big construction site, the tough trucks work with all their might to build a building, make a road, to get the job done, load by load. Faux-Fire's version of that is Buttercup the cow had a new baby calf. A fine baby calf, a strong baby calf, not strong like his mother, for he was so new. Not strong like his mother, but strong for a calf, for he was so new. Endlessly reading that to Fleetwood, which would embarrass him to no end, if I brought it up to him now. But he loved that book. But I mean, he was a baby. He was a toddler. That's what you do. Yeah, we thought about it, but I'm thinking now, like, maybe there just aren't a lot of readers in this neighborhood. Maybe the market is saturated. The market for such is flooded or non-existent. Yeah, anyway. I'm fussing now. What time is it? 12:04. Still got about 20 minutes here, 25 minutes. Going to go a little further. We're going to get a little paint in there, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, that light gray just makes it look like I didn't paint it, because everyone knows that mini plastic is gray, you know? I don't know. Gotta get some silver on a couple of these spots anyway. I've been trying to finish The King in Yellow, which I started quite a while ago. But most of my evenings, I'll end up with I got to get stuff done, right? I got things to do either for work or for the channel. And last night I actually had some free time for the first time in a long while, so I was watching a few friends' channels, and just relaxing that way. And watched Lightmane is reading the book Magic Kingdom for Sale, sold. It's Terry Brooks. When I saw that when I was a kid, I saw that book. It was everywhere. It was in the mid '80s, I'd say. And I was much too serious about fantasy literature at the time. I did not want anything to do with that. I mean, it's like, that looks like it's making fun of the world that I enjoy so much. I suspect I would enjoy it more now. Yes. I mean, I did paint it. I just painted it gray, and the plastic is gray, so it was obviously not painted. I'm going to try this slate gray, which is just a different color gray, and maybe by putting various grays on it, it will make it look less like I just didn't paint, and more like, oh, there's different grays there. I guess he has some plan. I don't know. There's all sorts of detail of like strappy kinds of things on this arm. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything with. Just because, man, that's more than I'm really up for, I think. I could rename my channel The Lazy Painter. I would like that. Okay. I have a little brooch, which will be gold. I like Terry Brooks? Excellent. Well, Lightmane is quite into him as well. And he's reading he did a little review, and then he's reading bits of it. I think he's actually reading the whole thing. I need to get one of those nail polish shakers like Paint Minis Live has. The problem with the metallics, especially the gold, it never really mixes, it feels like. Craft paint metallics they ain't great, I'll say that. Yeah, it's like it's really watery and clumpy. Oh, dog. You know, when people blame it on the dog. Oh, but you can't smell this, so the only reason I'd have to even bring it up is that it was the dog. Man, dog. What are you doing down there? What did you eat? What did you eat? I know what you ate. I fed it to you. Good heavens. How did it come out smelling like that? Didn't go in smelling like that. Boots. Don't want none boots. Burnt umber boots. Why not? Why not? There's straps on the boots I will be doing because they're a lot easier to get to. And those will be black. The Lazy Painter with Father Aaron. Well, today we're going to paint some minis. Oh, that looks like a lot of work. I don't think we're going to have it. That may have been what was behind when I was a kid. I never painted the minis. I had dozens of minis, but I didn't paint them. And I argued it on the basis of I like the way they look as statues, you know. But of course, the reality is ancient and even medieval statues would have been painted. But I didn't like. I liked the sort of clean look of the, you know. But really, what it came down to is I knew that if I wasn't actually laziness, it was I knew that if I did it, I'd ruin them. I would just make a bollocks job of it. I was young. I was not patient. And I will say it was the 80s, and all we had were Testors paints. So some enameled nightmare would be the result. Okay, that's good enough. I like that. What can I? You know what? I will use the maple on the back because it's not actually leg, and I painted it. It's not actually boot. It's a sort of padding on the back that goes over the boot. So I'm going to give him gloves because a good swordsman swinging something that heavy is probably going to want gloves. Okay, dog, quit bumping into me. Kings of War Dwarves, Book 3 of the Heritage of Shannara, the Elf Queen. Now, the Elf Stone of Shannara I did read. I gotta say, I have no memory of it. I know I read it, though. I remember reading it. I just don't remember anything in it. Was there a character named Elanwi in that one, or is that a different series? Does anyone know what the character Elanwi comes from? I remember that name. I'm not sure why I remember that name. Or was that in the High King, the Prydian, is that it? I can't remember the name of the series. The Book of 3 and whatnot. I got the Book of 3 for the boys for Christmas, for just all of them, because they do all tend to read the same stuff. But Fleetwood picked it up, and he saw the main character was a pig farmer. And he said, I'm not interested in that. I'm like, read it. He doesn't stay a pig farmer. But it did not grab him. We'll try again later. It's the thing with a kid, you know. I mean, like they're gonna like what they like, and it's not going to be a carbon copy of what you like. Though I have to say, up to high school, we homeschooled all of them, and we give them the option in high school if they want to do. Fleetwood has gone to school, but because we homeschool them, when he goes up to listen to music, 99 Luftballon, Hungry Like the Wolf. It's like listening to the 80s coming from the upstairs. He's listening to all this old classic stuff because that's what he heard from us, right? That's what he got from us. And so he's going, 99 Luftballon. Like, yeah, all right. It's the 80s all over again in our house. All right, what color will that be? How many browns do I have? We'll have a golden brown. Might work. Golden brown. We'll make that the... I don't know what the name of this thing will be, but it's a little leg protectory kind of thing. And this, even though it's in the same range, at least closer to the face, is different enough. This actually, the golden brown is what I painted the hobgoblin faces, because it's a little orangey. That'd be the golden part of it, I suppose. And brown is really just orange, at least in terms of like online color palettes. You got to go into the orange to get brown. Yeah, it's funny. The other night, what was it? It was ZZ Top, fine, sharp dressed man was coming from their room, and then occasionally you'll hear something that is current, contemporary. Um, there's one that gets played all the time during these videos that they watch on YouTube. Is it? Is it? Oh, I can't remember the channel. Its name now. Anyway, like the kids are watching on the YouTubes. I can't remember the name of the channel now. I can't believe I've forgotten it. I hear it all the bloody time. Dude Perfect. And it's this is how legends are made. And really, it's just, from what I can tell, the entire song is just those words. This is how legends are made, over and over and over and over. It makes compelling background music for a YouTube video, but hearing it, blasted in the house is just less. It's less motivating for me. But that's their music. At least it's not, it's not moronic. I mean, I kind of have to admit, a lot of 80s music is pretty repetitive too. Now I wish I'd done this before I did the armor. Trying to save the Elchrist tree. Parents and teachers, I went to their high school. Grew up on John Denver. Yeah. Yeah. Well, but in the 80s, John Denver was not, he was still recording in the 80s. He wasn't entirely. Will Olmsford and the elven girl Amberly, she carried one of the Elchrist seeds. The TV series is sort of Shannara. The actor who played Will Olms is the actor Austin Butler, who played Elvis and who was also in Dune. He played what's his butt? One of the Harkonnens. He was so good in that. He was so good in that. When he's on screen with Timothée Chalamet, it's like, oh, God bless you, Timothy. You're charismatic and everything, but no, man. That guy walks on screen and every eye, I mean, partly, of course, he looks freakish because of his costume and makeup and everything else, but he was so good in that. He was so good in that. Stellan Skarsgård is too, and I really like Skarsgård. I think he's quite good. His role in the miniseries Chernobyl, beautiful. Now scratch your voice. You will do it because it must be done. Yes, Stellan Skarsgård. I think, just a brilliant guy, just a brilliant actor. I don't know, maybe he's a jerk, but he's a brilliant actor. He may kick puppies as a hobby. I don't know, but he's a good actor. So, like, now it feels like you always have to caveat everything behind, separating the person's personality. I don't know anything bad about Skarsgård, just to be clear, but it feels like you have to caveat everything now between personality and what they and their work. Because everyone's like, well, but he says this. Like, I don't care if he says that. He's a good actor. And I'm sure Skarsgård is not a horrible puppy kicker. Well, I'm not sure of it, actually. I don't know at all. I don't care. Well, I mean, I care. Puppies get kicked. This puppy's going to get kicked. He doesn't get off my foot. Yeltsin? No, not Boris. Boris, yes, but not Yeltsin. Boris, it's a long name, starts with an S. A real person, as all of them were, except the woman scientist was playing sort of an amalgam of scientists, because in order to avoid there being a parade of characters who each have like 3 lines, they pushed all the scientists into one. I remember very few of the names. I remember his first name was Boris Srebrenica or something like that. I don't know. As I'm not big on the Russian. I don't know. I mean, Legasov, obviously. Dyatlov. The guy who played Dyatlov is so good too. I mean, brilliantly awful. Like you could. Part of it, the writing. The part of it also his attitude. You wanted to punch him as soon as you saw him. Like even his entrance, he comes on. He's on his way to work, chain smoking, right? And just his attitude as he walks through the community, you just want to smack him. I don't know. Somehow they did that. The actor who played Legasov, also brilliant. I mean, really, quite a good cast all around, I think. And a masterclass. Mind the time. I am looking at it. 2:21. Sherbina. There you go. Yes, I got to make lunch for the boy and I. I'm getting a bit hungry. But a masterclass in perspective. That one. There's a video about that, about how well that series uses perspective, what you know and when you know it. And obviously, to a certain extent, the audience goes in knowing, because it's called Chernobyl and it's clearly about, so we know what happened if you were alive for that history. If you were, but I love the line in that at the hearings near the end. Legasov says, "Every lie we tell incurs a debt to the truth." What a beautiful way to put it. Every lie we tell incurs a debt to the truth. Such a fine piece of writing. That whole scene where he's explaining it and how it comes at the end. Like we never see the entirety of the events until he's explaining it at the end. I mean, it begins with that shot of the young wife getting up to get a drink of water or something, and she's just in her living or dining room, whatever, and you see the explosion happen in the distance, and she doesn't see it. She feels it because it ends up shaking the building, and then she sees it. Yeah, cool piece of work that is. Cool piece of work. A couple bits I'm seeing on those legging bits, those pads on his legs that I didn't quite cover off because I thought there was a strap where there wasn't a strap. So I'm just going to touch those up, and then they go call it a day. I'm not going to call it done. I'll probably putter at it tonight, but I won't be filming it then. I will put pictures up later when I consider it close enough to done to be seen. I'm going to be doing what I have been doing all along with my minis when I get to it. That is covering them with matte Mod Podge. Now, it does give them a slight gloss, but not enough to be a distraction, and it just protects the paint job. Because one thing about craft paint, it's not terribly durable. It's a latex. It'll roll off. If it gets rubbed any amount, it easily comes off. I'm going to get the sword, don't I? You should probably get the sword. Maybe I have enough time to do that. Do I have enough time to do the sword? Yeah, I can take the time to do the sword. I do cover it in the Mod Podge. The Long Walk. No, I have not seen the Long Walk. No way. Yeah, really. Well, the attempt, the arrogance of the attempt to keep it quiet. I mean, come on. But there's a speech by an actor. He's an old guy, and it's like exactly who you hire when you want to show an entrenched establishment that refuses to move. And I think he was he also the Maester for Winterfell in Thrame of Gones? I can't remember. Anyway, maybe not, but he certainly have a similar, like you'd cast them as brothers maybe in a movie. Maybe it's the same guy. Anyway, he has this speech about, do you know what this place is called? We call it Chernobyl, but it's actually somewhere it's one of the sycophants in the room knows it's the Vladimir Lenin. This is, Lenin would be so proud of what you do here tonight. We're going to contain this because we don't want the people to panic. The state must protect them. It's very nanny state kind of, we're going to protect people from the truth. And he gives a speech, and it's chilling when you know what he's talking about. If you didn't know what he was talking about, you could say, that's a noble thing. Yeah, you don't want panic in the streets. If you kind of knew, if you didn't know, you might say, well, yeah, of course, you don't want people getting upset. But knowing what he's talking about, it's so chilling. Because he's got all the confidence in the world, right? That he's on the right side. He knows what's going on. He knows the story. Hey, Minnie, you take care of yourself. Back to the bench. We have some time to hobby. Stephen King film based on the book he wrote in the late 70s. No, I have not. I really liked. I don't care for horror that much. But I really liked Shawshank Redemption, which is Stephen King, which is like, if you again, you guys know, you grew up in the 80s, Stephen King was, horror. And you think that, and when Misery came out, it was sort of a departure because it wasn't a monster, it wasn't a supernatural thing, it was just this really crazy woman. But then Shawshank came out. I was like, that's even a bigger departure. But of course, he'd been writing that stuff all along. It's just his horror stuff was what he was known for. I mean, he cranked it out like sausages. That was what he was known for. That was the big thing. That was the thing all the earlier movies were made of. But yeah, he had quite a wide range of work. In addition to spicy takes online. Okay. 100 young men walking until there's only one. Yeah, I saw some ad for that. Robust blessings to you as well, Squirrel. Robust blessings. Okay, we're pretty much I got 2 minutes in case there's anything. I haven't done the ground yet. I'll do that. And I will so I'm going to show him off here a little bit. This is how he's turning out. In that crook of his arm there, it just doesn't look right to me. I'm going to have to do something in there. But not too shabby. I want to dirty up the cloak a little bit. Get some darker brown around the edges, some black maybe down around the edges to dirty him up. May have to go in there in the back of his neck and just take the hair all the way down. Even though the model doesn't have hair going that far down, I'll push it down there because otherwise I've got to try to get in there and do the color of his shirt. That's just more than I feel like doing. But it is time for me to go and make lunch for young Bob Johnny, who's standing just over here, looking a little bit hungry. So I'm going to be off. I hope you all have a good day. Thanks for joining and listening to me jabber. And as I said, there is an episode coming out tomorrow. It's up for the patrons now, but it'll be out tomorrow for the general public. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you on the flip side. Have a good day, everyone.